Bonjour, mes amis. Grüße, meinen Freunden. Hello, my friends. This is Enzo Eigen of the Alliance for Loki. Today I want to make a video on running Alliance Quest Map 6, Day 5. This is the highest level and hardest day. I want to talk about the strategy I use in the fights and overall the ideas that I have doing Alliance Quest. So you can see the team I choose is Blade, Ghost Rider, and Void. Blade and Ghost Rider are amazing Alliance Quest champions because of their very strong regen, which allows them to take a lot of damage and heal up in the many fights that you have to participate in. Void is essentially there just to fight with the mini-boss Mephisto. It's a strong mini-boss, except Void makes it a very easy fight. So you can see this first fight is Void against Punisher 2099. And with Blade, you sort of get the first health percentage for free. So he only regens up to 71%, and so I sort of don't care what happens. You can see in the fight though I don't get hit, but his unblockable special 1 and just his hitting into my blocks causes a lot of damage. So even with a character who doesn't take any hits, I still lose a good percentage of health. I'm down to 76%, which means I lost 24 in a fight just from blocking specials and his attacks. The next fight is Green Goblin on Thorns. Thorns is unavoidable damage you get just by hitting the opponent. Luckily, with Void's Danger Sense, it nullifies this ability somewhat. So you can see in a lot of the hits I do, only a few times do I take the Thorns damage. Here I'm starting to concentrate more on regeneration. So I fight a little and then I start backing out and holding my block, and he goes back into his block and I'm able to regenerate. My goal is to try to always stay around 71%. I'm always very conservative in these fights. I'm very worried about getting hit by a special. Green Goblin has a pretty complicated special, and so I will just block it. And you can see as I block, all the regeneration allows me to get back to that 71% max heal of Blade. Danger Sense makes this a pretty quick fight, but even so, these fights are still around 50 hits. Remember, this is a rank 5 maxed Blade with Danger Sense. And so 50 hits is a lot when you're having to use the most powerful character in the game. The defenders are very strong. So now that I've finished the fight, I'm out of energy. So my rule is to start as quickly as I can Alliance Quest. That way I open up the path so my Alliance mates can start their outer paths and get a little bit of extra energy, since they won't use any on the opening that I have done. Now this fight I have a magic. I almost always have to fight this magic linked. To have her unlinked, it's a series of 3 fights. The outer lane has to clear for the next lane, which has to clear for the next lane, which finally will clear for the lane I'm running. So usually I almost always will have to fight this magic link. The link isn't particularly bad. The champion boost and some extra health or plague mine. I can't remember what it was, but it's pretty minor. So magic is of course a very standard fight. The thing about this is on the standard node it has degeneration, so I'm always losing health. And the other thing is of course magic can proc her limbo, which means I will take damage. And again, this very high level of character, you can see her prestige is, or power is 33,000. And so even though she will not proc her limbo too often, when she does, it drains a significant amount of health. I tried to balance the goal of keeping Blade's health at 71% with trying to have the fights be reasonable in their length. I don't want to miss a lot of openings, and I also know the longer I stay in fights, the more chance I could take a hit, and at this level, having a hit will usually kill you. So I finished the fight at 41% health, which is okay. I just am anticipating them able to heal up Blade a lot on future fights. My last fight before I go to sleep is against Heimdall. He has a power 2 start, and his special 2 is True Strike, and I'm never sure if it's evadable or not, the projectile part of it, so I always just block it to be safe. In this fight, you have to start out baiting his special, so you see I dance around, and then I just try to get him to throw it, which he finally does. There it is, and again I just block the projectile part, which does a lot of damage, 10% damage. Now, my goal is just to keep on fighting him, to bait out special 1s, not let him get to a special 2, try to get my judgments up pretty high so I can get a really long regen and finish the fight at 100%. So part of the trick with judgments and regeneration is you try to get a lot of them, but you don't want to kill him too quickly. So you see here, I sort of wait until I have 4 judgments, and I get my regen, and his health is pretty low, and so I think I time it just about perfect where I get 100% health and kill him while the regen is still active. So now I'm finished my fights for the night, and I go to bed while all of my alliance mates finish their paths, and then in the morning I'm ready to run again. So as I've waken up, you can see the boss is gone, a lot of the paths are cleared, and my alliance has set me up so I just have these 3 fights on the middle path again that don't affect any of their links. These 3 fights I find are the most challenging of my path. They are fairly strong and all have some nodes on them that are difficult. So this first fight is a Dormammu, and because I'm trying to not use any items, I'm going to buy some boosts. That way I'm able to have strong fights against them. Alliance quests are difficult because you of course are trying to finish without using them, but the item limit too is an important part of Alliance quest. Just like in war, you only have 15 items, so if you're not careful, you could potentially item out. Also, items are very expensive, and at this level, Alliance quests potions do not heal very much, and so to heal a character so he's relatively usable takes a few boosts. So here I am going in against Dormammu, and the big difficulty with Dormammu is his degeneration that he puts on you. This degeneration causes a lot of damage, and it's hard to play around this. I try not to have Dex proc too much, but for me that's really difficult, and even with my best efforts I always seem to proc it. It's just one of those things that is really too much extra for me in a fight, and so if I think I start worrying about proccing Dex, then I get careless or lose concentration in the fight, and at this level, one hit means that you will most certainly die. So here you can see the degeneration is doing about 400, a little more than 400 damage per second, I believe, per half second. The regeneration counteracts it, but not by much, and you can see it's just proccing all the time. So I try to mitigate the damage as much as I can with regeneration between blocks, and you see I got hit twice by him. I'm not really able to get too much net health from this fight. Since he can't bleed, the fight seems to take fairly long, even though I'm not even halfway through. These fights are all difficult, mostly from the fact that if you get hit, it almost certainly means your character will die, especially as the health gets lower. So I've taken a lot of damage this fight, and I pushed him to a special 2, so I quickly finish him off, as I can't really evade that special. The next fight is against Blade. He is on a node that is fairly easy because there are no really big difficulties with the buffs that he gets. I think it's of course a champion boost and true strike, but nothing that you have to be too concerned about as you fight him. So as you see now, my Blade is fairly low health, so of course my big goal is to try to have this fight and regain a lot of health from this battle. What's been happening a lot, you can see, is the troubles with networks, but luckily the fight continues. So my goal is to try to parry him, have him bleed, stay close to him so I can get extra power from his bleed, and then start healing. So I'm at 20%, and I start my healing, and I managed to do pretty well. Here I make a big mistake. I miss the evade on his special 1, which procs bleed, even though I desperately try to counteract the bleed with my regeneration. It fails, and I lose my character. So now I have to use a different champion to finish my fight against Blade. I made the mistake once of taking Ghost Rider into this fight. Blade gets Danger Sense against Ghost Rider, so he has a lot of additional attack, plus many of your abilities fail, and so it's a really difficult fight if you use Ghost Rider. So of course I choose Void. I really enjoy fighting with Void. He is my main Alliance War champion, and he just has such a different gameplay from a lot of the champions that I find really enjoyable. So in this battle, again, just trying to do my best to fight and not get hit as much as possible and do as much damage and stay safe. You see I'm very nervous about the special ones, and so I'm blocking them as opposed to trying to evade them. You know, it definitely cost health, but the consequence of not being able to evade a special is death or near death. So the fight's going good. I have lots of debuffs on him, and I managed to kill him pretty quickly. The next fight is against Corvus Glaive. This fight is more challenging. It has a node on it that is stun immune, so this means I will not be able to parry him. So I go into Ghost Rider with this fight. It's the one who I like to fight with a lot just because he has the class advantage. Of course, the thing that is important to remember against Corvus Glaive is that every hit of his is critical. So a 5-hit combo would likely mean that my character would get killed, so you have to be very careful. So I bait out his heavy attack and then fight him every time he throws it. And that is sort of my tactic. I guess I don't have too much of a preference between a special 1 and special 2. I do like the special 2 just because I can attack after it, but I'm always worried about building up too much power and having him get to a special 3, which would have me be killed. I'm also going to, of course, try and get to my regen, and so I want to think about that as I play. So I feel like I'm being a little bit aggressive, maybe too aggressive, and you can see I did a couple of intercepts and they seem to be pretty risky as I watch the playback now of this fight. So I have him set up pretty well. I have a lot of judgments, and now I want to get my regeneration on him. You see I get hit twice as I am not playing well enough. And now at the end, I just get too nervous to even try to do the regen because I have to hit him with a heavy after he does his heavy attack or his special 2, and I worry it's too much risk, and I'd rather just try to regen later. I throw my special so I don't have to deal with his glaive charges, and I kill him. Okay, on to the next fight. So this next node is Emma Frost. Emma always gives me a lot of difficulty. This one, she has Power Start 1, and her first special, her special 1 is unblockable. Her special 1 is not that hard to avoid, but I feel I often get hit by it. I think because it has the inverted controls, and I'm so used, of course, to evading by swiping to the left, that swiping to the right always confuses me, and in a long fight I will forget to do it or not be quick enough and then make a mistake. So here I start fighting her. Again, my goal is to try to get some judgments and then be able to proc my regeneration and get back up to full. I get hit by her, which causes a lot of health loss, and now I feel worried because even her block hits are going to cause me a lot of damage. And then even worse, again, I get hit by the special attack, and now I have to wait and play against her as she's stun immune and not take many block hits. So I've got 2 judgments now, so I'm hoping to get my regeneration. The problem is while she's in diamond form, it's harder to get your heavy attack. So I push her to her special 1 and try to get her back to her telepathic form. You can see I'm really running out of health, and I just took too much time to get to the regeneration. So now I'm in big difficulty, and you see I just charge in and die. So now I have to finish the fight off with Void. This is one of the things I like about Alliance Quest. I enjoy these difficult fights. There's so much time in this game where you don't really have difficult fights, maybe uncollected in the monthly events or in war, but I always am more happy to fight challenging fights. That is the best part of this game. So as I say that, you see I start right away with doing a very poor job against Emma. So once again, I'm trying to work on just getting the debuffs, not taking much damage. It's interesting that though she has lots of immunities, Void still is able to put almost all of his debuffs on her, which makes him a very good character against her. So the fight is quick, and I got hit several times and lost a lot of health, but I managed to win. So I finished the fight with Emma. I have 1 energy left, which I use to move up to Sabretooth, but I don't do the fight since he's linked. My alliance mates finish Sabretooth and the boss. You can see now here I have a minute 40 left on my 30% boost, and I have about 1 minute on the next Alliance Quest energy that I will receive. I use a team revive that I have in my stash. This allows me to have Blade and Ghost Rider back. I know I'll need them for the rest of my path, so I go ahead and revive them. I don't use any potions to heal them. If you play well with Blade and Ghost Rider, even though they have very little health now, you're able to revive them, or not revive them, to heal them and have their health rise significantly. These first couple fights are Starburst fights. Starburst is again another challenge because you're always going to take damage, and so as you fight, I try to do a lot of healing at the beginning of the fight when I'm not taking much damage, and then as Starburst gets stronger and stronger, then I will try to finish the fight more quickly. So against Phoenix, I still have my 30% boost, and I go with Blade. I only have a little over 1,000 health. If I play this fight correctly, I should be able to start healing a fair amount. So as usual with Blade, my strategy is have them bleed and then use that to gain power. Phoenix is a pretty easy chance to fight. In this fight though, I'm always worried and nervous when I have low health, so you can see I'm very tentative in the way I fight her. And so I miss parries, I take a lot of block hits, and I'm just trying to be very conservative. There, I didn't go after her once I dodged her special 1. It's hard when you're trying to focus on regen because there's a certain rhythm you want to get in while doing the fight and making sure that you are able to get as much regeneration as possible. I kill her quickly, knowing that she's going to have her regeneration where she comes back alive. At this point, with the degen, even though it's not that strong, just with the amount of times I can get my regeneration versus its degeneration, I just try to kill her as quickly as possible because I don't think I can gain that much health. So Phoenix finished, I'm out of energy, which means I'll wait until I can move again. It's sort of about 50% that I do these next fights, or Cade does them. In this case, Cade was able to do the next several fights. They're good regeneration fights, except for the domino at the very end, where the split is in the paths. She can be pretty difficult. Luckily, he got to fight her this day. So now I have Hela. Again, I look at this character as a good opportunity to get some regeneration. It's not that hard a fight, and I have danger sense. And again, I'm just going to spend my time building my power and also then regenerating. You can see, like many of these fights, I am conservative. I don't try to evade the specials, I just block them. So I'm working the regeneration, and against this fight, I can heal nearly back to full power. Hela is a pretty easy fight. She doesn't really have too much you have to worry about, and this node, other than the power drain, is pretty easy as far as the challenge goes. Here you see I get hit. All these fights are long, and again, when you're trying to heal and trying to play it safe, it's just easy to make mistakes. So every alliance quest, I'm always having fights where I take a few hits. That's why I feel it's so important to be able to use a character like Blade and Ghost Rider. The way they can regenerate is incredible. And even with a good champ like a Corvus or maybe a Captain America, Infinity War, or Magic or Vision, just the fact that you can gain back your health, even if you play them perfectly, the amount you're taking from blocking, and if you do get hit, just means that it's very hard to use these characters for too long. So that is the end of Hela, and now I have to wait for the Nightcrawler to become unlinked, which is my next fight. So now I have Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler, of course, is a very strong evade champion. As always, my goal is to try to have him knocked out of his evade very quickly by using the trick. So I have a couple fights here, and so I use a 20% boost just to give me a little bit of an edge in these fights. As I said before, these champions on day 5 are very strong, and so I'd rather use a boost, which are potentially saving money from having to use a regen. So right now I've used the 60 units for the 2 boosts, and it's a regen maybe 120 units, so already this alliance quest has cost me about 200 units, though the revive I had from an earlier quest as a reward. So against the fight of Nightcrawler, you see I quickly am able to have him switch out of his evade mode into his non-evade mode, swashbuckling it's called. And I proc a couple of judgments, and I get the healing, the regeneration, and it's fairly long. And again, this fight is really good because I'm able to regen a huge amount of health. When I use Ghost Rider, I've made my mastery build that has Mystic's Dispersion at level 5, and you can see that's really helpful because I quickly get up to my special 3 as I gain power from when he uses his buffs. The special 3 is really nice, one because it resets the judgments, but also it freezes his power and does a little bit of damage. The damage is pretty significant, 173 per tick, and that allows me to finish him quickly. So you can see from Ghost Rider I went from 9% to 37%, so I gained 37% of my health, which is a huge benefit as I continue on my path. So now I have another Corvus on my path. This one is pretty challenging to fight. He has a lot of extra health. You see 122,000. He also is on a node like the last 2 fights, both Hela and Nightcrawler, that have power gain. So he has a 200% power gain, which means it is very easy for him to get to his specials. So in this case, I always try to get him to a special 2. One, it just doesn't take that many hits, and the other thing is that I can always attack after a special 2. I try to get my judgments on, the one that works off the combos, so I do that. I hope I did the bleed one first since he's bleed immune, and then did the fury. After that, I got one more judgment with my special 1, and I went right into the heavy for the regeneration judgment. So you can see it lasts a long time, but the fact that I have to bait so many specials means that it just takes a lot of waiting where I can't attack. But even so, the regen helps me a lot, and I've essentially doubled my regeneration, my health, so now I'm at 64%. So once again, I just have to be very careful about hitting him, because if I hit him too many times, or if he hits me, then he'll be in a special 3, and that would almost certainly kill me. So with trying to bait the specials, I always try to get it right above the special 2, the 2 bars of power, and then leave a little bit extra that I'm able to hit his block. Hitting his block often seems to encourage him to throw his special attack. This fight, again, is one that always feels very risky. Just one hit and you're probably going to die. So it's going well. I'm continuing to fight him. I'm not going to be able to really get any more judgments because with the power drain on this node, it's just not enough time to gain power before it drains. Sometimes I can get to a special 2, which is nice because that's a power drain, and then it just gives me a little more time where I don't have to worry about his power, but that doesn't happen here. So the fight's going well. He's doing a very good job of throwing his specials. Able to fight him. So of course, always at the end, I know about his glaive charges that make him immune. I know I'm about to gain a special 1, so I take a bit of a risk and attack him and let him get 3 bars of power, and then use my special 1, knowing it will go through his immunity charges, and it works. Those things, maybe it's too risky to do an alliance quest, but I felt confident it would work. This next fight, even though he has power gain and there's the power drain on me on this node, is Thor, the original, is very easy. And so this one always for me is a chance to get some regeneration. So I go in with my Ghost Rider. I'm not too worried. Again, I'm trying to get his special 1. It's just easier to evade. And then using my combos to get judgments, using my special. And then I want to wait and not attack into him so I can parry him, do my heavy, and get my regeneration. Thor is very good about throwing a special 1, so with the 4 judgments I have a fairly long regen, and I'm hoping that he'll throw lots of his special 1s, and that way I can attack. You can see every time I attack I'm getting almost 1,000 health back, so 5 attacks is a significant amount of regeneration. If I can do that 3 or 4 times, that's a lot of health that I gain back. Now I have another power gain, power drain node. This is Monger. This goes back to the reason why I like alliance quests so much. This fight used to give me a lot of difficulty at first. You know, has a very long reach on his special 2. He has, you know, pretty tough to evade special 1. And he's have all these mechanics with reverberation, with the unstoppable he gains after special 1, with the immunity charges. And so having to play him many times at a high level of difficulty has really taught me how to do this fight. And I think that's one of the keys in Marvel Contest of Champions, is being able to just know these different enemies, being able to fight them well. And so the more you can practice, the better. And this is a good time to be able to practice champions against champions who have, you know, really high power, who have these interesting nodes on them. Because unlike duels, when you duel a Killmonger, he doesn't have power gain or power drain, and so you really don't get that opportunity to see what it's like to fight him with these. So my strategy, as you see, is really just to keep on pushing him to a special 2. Very easy again, because he gets that extra power when he's bleeding and the power gain. So almost every combination I get a special 2. You can see I took a huge risk on doing my special 2. I didn't think it'd push him to a special 3. Again, maybe too risky, but it was successful and it manages to kill him. And my last fight is against Iron Man Infinity War. This, I believe, is a strike back node. I actually cannot remember. This will be my last fight of this Alliance quest. It's maybe 50% of the time I fight these two. Sometimes Limitators and K get to them first, or I'm out of energy. And yes, it is a strike back. Has the aspect of Genesis 2. Because of that, and since my champions have a lot of health now, you can see the amazing amount of regeneration I've done with my Ghost Rider. He's almost at full health. I decided to go ahead and fight him, figuring he would probably die, and then I'll just go in with Void and reverse his healing. So by now, of course, we all know how to fight Iron Man Infinity War. I'm just letting him throw his heavies and then attack into them, making sure he doesn't have too many armors, so I don't get auto blocked. And the fight's going well. You can see he hits me pretty hard, and again, block damage does a lot. Throw my special 2, knowing that his strike back will not lead him to a special 3, since it's a power drain special. Just fighting, waiting for him to get below his 15%, where he starts having the extra mechanic of gaining power and all the extra armors. So this fight is one that I've done a lot, of course, to practice for war, but you can see there I'm not too good because I get clipped as I'm against the wall. It's very interesting how you have to change your fight strategy when you're against the wall, and something I'm better at now, but I still need to practice a lot. When you have the space in the open, you can do a lot more, and the gameplay is much different. But against the wall, you really have to adjust how you're playing. You see there, I was very careless. I got auto blocked. I wasn't too worried again, because I actually really didn't think I was be able to survive with Ghost Rider. You see, even just absorb the blocks there. Right about here, I was like, oh, my special 3 has been activated. So I go ahead and use that. Again, I don't think he's going to die from it, but the nice thing is going to hold his power. He's at 1%, so I'm like, oh, okay, good. This way he will be able to just die from the damnation, and he does. And so I managed to pull off a one-shot with my Ghost Rider of Iron Man Infinity War. So this is the end of my fights in this Alliance quest. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It gives you a chance to see Alliance quest at its hardest level. This again is map 6, day 5. Soon with map 7 it will be even harder, and I'm really looking forward to that, because as I said, I really like the challenge of Alliance quest. A chance to fight difficult opponents on various different challenging nodes. So please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I will see you all in future videos. Au revoir, tschüss, goodbye.